Unholy is a brand new film starring the likes of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and it's coming out this weekend where movie theaters are starting to open up everywhere, and I got the lowdown on if this movie is worth checking out. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. My name is Zach. I am the Wolf of Geek Street, and if you guys love movies, TV, games, or any sort of geeky content like that, this is the channel for you guys. I am your main source for all that, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. Have you guys been looking forward to this movie? Have you not? Is this your first time hearing about it? Well, let's talk about it all down there. Unholy is about a hearing-impaired girl who is visited by the Virgin Mary and can suddenly hear, speak, and heal the sick. As people flock to witness her miracles, terrifying events start to unfold, and a journalist starts to think, is this actually the work of the Virgin Mary or something much more sinister? This once again stars the likes of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, William Slater, and Katie Aselton. I have been looking forward to this movie, a lot of the reason being because of Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I'm a major fan of him. Anytime he comes into things, I like to say that, yeah, he brings a lot of charisma. He brings that flair to a lot of these smaller realm films, or even in general, if the film or show are pretty big, like say The Walking Dead or Watchmen, he adds that umph to them that pushes that kind of to the next level. And he's a great actor. He's someone I look forward to and when he's starring in something, and it's really cool to see him being the main protagonist in a horror film like this. Here's the thing though with The Unholy. I was looking forward to this because I think the trailer is quite scary, but I left this film just feeling like this was a harmless little horror film that really much never went anywhere else than it needed to be. It's harmless. You see this, you're gonna watch it. I don't think you'll regret your life watching it. Like, it's not a terribly made movie, but you're gonna leave and probably forget about the movie in the next couple of hours. And that's not what a horror film is supposed to be. A horror film is supposed to stick with you. And I like to say I get scared pretty easily. You know, certain movies scare me pretty easily, some others than others. And if this movie's not the one to kind of scare me, then maybe it's not that scary. And that's the way I can put it, is that everyone scares, all that stuff is always very biased to every single person. It's very subjective. You could watch this thing, it's the scariest movie ever. I could watch this and think it's not. I could watch another horror film, think it's the scariest thing ever, and you might think it's the dumbest thing ever. That's just how horror works. Inside The Unholy, my biggest con about this, and usually I start with my pros, but let's just get the cons right out of the way. My biggest con to this entire film is the jump scares. They are prolific, they are here and there, they pop up every single place. I will give credit where credit is due, though. Where they do pop up, sometimes you don't expect them. And they did get me. So I guess they were effective. But I liked when jump scares are a little bit more built up within the tension. And not the cliche thing of like, okay, I know this is a jump scare is going to be right around the corner any sort of second. Plus adding in there as well, there is this demonic figure in here that, while the design is really cool, I actually really dug the design of it all, I expected a little bit more from it. There are certain shots, especially the first shot you actually see of it, it's all very much CGI glorified, and it really turned me off. And when it was practical, that's when I was like, that's amazing. And I get everything, you know, you always have to meld CGI throughout the entire thing. I understand that, but I feel like there was a way that you could have easily weaved it through and fixed it up a little bit to make it not look, or even get away more with the practical stuff, because the practical stuff was awesome. I just, when it did go to the CGI stuff, it did take me out, because I feel like even though this is a smaller film, the CGI didn't completely support that all the way. In those moments, again, it did take me out of those scenarios. But even though, while I think this film is not that scary and it is pretty harmless, it's interesting nonetheless to see just where it goes. I think this is an interesting story nonetheless to at least keep you intrigued through the entire way through. Like I mentioned, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's great in here, but so is pretty much the rest of the cast. Every single person really dedicates their time through this, even though there are certain cliches throughout here. I was like, okay, of course he's the cliche priest, you're the cliche person who's getting healed. Again, very paper-thin material here when you come down to the characters. But the story overall, I was like, alright, I can dig the mythology here. I can even dig, like, the concept of it all. It was really, again, in a real-life perspective, this would actually be really terrifying. I just wish the film executed that exactly. Even though I didn't think the film was too scary, I did find the film to actually have a really good atmosphere to it. Again, in particular, because of the way that they shot the film and the locations they shot it at. And in general, the cinematography was quite surprising how great it was. There are certain shots in here I was like, that's actually really gorgeous. And especially for a horror film of this scale where, you know, I don't think it's that intense or anything of that nature of being memorable, the cinematography is the thing that I walked away with going, that was actually pretty good. And I always get worried with films where they take place at dark and they're these more lower budget horror films because you never know how it's going to turn out, but it actually turned out kind of beautiful, and I dug that. Unholy is exactly that. You know, it's not the worst horror film you'll ever see. I've seen so many bad horror movies out there, but it's also not a great one. It's just fine. It's harmless. You'll watch it, you'll be like, that was cool, and then you'll forget all about it in the next couple of hours. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's great. The whole cast is great. It's a great looking movie. Cinematography is great. That all adds to the atmosphere of it all. And the demonic presence in here is really cool. I really dug the demonic presence. I wish they went more practical throughout the entire thing instead of just sticking to the CGI stuff. But even then, nonetheless, even though I wasn't scared, I still thought the film was just fine. So with all that said, I'm going to give The Unholy a C. Thank you guys once again for clicking on this video. You guys are seriously all the best. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. Head on over to Sam Raimi Films on how to see films early. And of course, it's a big thank you to you and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters because without you, I wouldn't be able to do so. Of course, until next time, stay classy.